One of the most popular animated shows in the past 10 years is Gravity Falls, based in large part on its great episode writing. Every episode feels different, unique, and keeps you coming back for more. But there is one episode which stands above the rest, being just about perfect in this 22-minute episode format. It pushed the story forward in interesting ways, really developed certain characters, and was just a fun time. The episode I'm referring to is Northwest Mansion Mystery, because it really is. The episode in question has really stuck out in my mind as being a special episode for a while. The story of Northwest Mansion Mystery manages to tell it in 22 minutes of runtime, and it feels really special, even when being put next to so many other great Gravity Falls episodes. The thing that comes to mind first about the episode is its format. Matt Braley, the creator of Amphibia, did an outstanding job directing the episode. It feels more stylized than almost any other episode of the show. The episode feels very inspired by classic horror films. The Haunting, for example, is so dark when it comes to the bleeding skulls or the ghost design or how the curse affects the partygoers. Another clear inspiration is the start of the episode, when it's Northwest Mansion, seeing them prepare for the party. Things start flying, things get all serious, they realize they need to call Dipper, who we see in the form of this action shot on a local newspaper. It's so stylized, and while I love Gravity Falls, if the show had borrowed a bit more style from this one episode, I think the show could have been even better, because this episode is just gorgeous from start to finish. The style is amazing. And the final thing I want to cover from the directorial side of this episode is scripting. This episode does a great job of following the 3-act story structure in a way which is better than almost any Disney TV episode. We have a beginning where the haunting starts, Dipper comes to help. We have the second act where Dipper catches the ghost and finds out the Northwest are lying. The third act, the ghost escapes, Pacifica opens the gates. The structuring again, adds to the format, which makes the episode just feel like those old horror films. Now though, let's discuss how the show actually works as a part of the show. Besides the formatting, another highlight of this episode for me are just the interactions between Dipper and Pacifica. These two have been at war with each other for almost the whole show at this point. Dipper just doesn't like her as a person, and it seems that Pacifica has some sort of superiority complex in relation to her status and family wealth, which makes her not like the Pines family. But our view of Pacifica changes for the first scene in the episode. We see how controlling the Northwest parents are, literally training their daughter with a bell as if she were a pet. We see Pacifica goes on this quest to capture the ghost with Dipper, and how she is risking her life just to protect her parents' favorite rug. But this quest also shows us that Pacifica can be a cool person, how she playfully teases Dipper and their banter. Pacifica doesn't seem to be the type of person to have a lot of friends, or at least ones with whom she shares a meaningful relationship with, not just being a posse leader. So, when she invites Dipper to stay for the party, it shows that she did really connect with him. And I'm not going to address the romance angle of the relationship because it's never really explored in the show, but I don't think it needs to be either. We need to remember that the Pines twins are only in Gravity Falls for the summer, and summer is running out. I really like the idea that maybe Pacifica and Dipper could have become something more if there was just more time, but that time doesn't exist. Having little loose threads like this makes the show feel more natural, and the conclusion even more bittersweet. The one thing about this episode I'm not completely sold on is how they give us the Pacifica redemption. Disney seems to have a thing for redeeming rich kids, and even though I'm looking at the show in retrospect and how it hasn't came out yet, I would have liked a bit more of a 3D development and something not as cliche for Disney. Nowadays, we get so many eat the rich movies and shows, I don't want that either. It isn't as much as a problem with the redemption here, as I just would have wanted to see a bit more Pacifica's good side, or at least her struggles in earlier episodes, because it feels all sudden here. It's not this episode's fault, it's a lack of setup. The ghost in this episode and his story is something I'm a really big fan of, though. I really like how the ghost and his story adds a lot of tragedy to the town of Gravity Falls. Well, on the surface, it just sucks that Northwest screwed the town, but if the townsfolk actually got to rub elbows with the rich and powerful, the whole course of the show could have been very different. I do think the rich people would still come to the parties as opposed to what the Northwest said, as we see how Marius falls in love with Grenda at the episode. I feel like it could have been possible that the townsfolk and the rich people need. Imagine what could have happened if younger versions of Stanford or McGucket found funding. It could have saved the town from Bill, with Stanford being able to learn more like he wanted. The town could have turned into a prospering small town in the woods, like so many of the ones that exist as like just for summer vacation home. I mean, Gravity Falls could have been that, and it could have prospered with it. If the Northwest fulfilled their promise, the town could have been in a much better place, and it was robbed of that opportunity, which makes it so much sadder in retrospect. Before we keep going, though, I have a favor I'd like to ask you guys. If you could just take the next 3 seconds to hit the subscribe button, it would really help my journey to monetization, which means higher quality videos, so thank you to everyone who has subscribed, but let's keep going. Now, let's talk about the third act of the episode, so to speak, and its effects on the show going forward. When the ghost turns the party into wood, it is genuinely terrifying. I also love the callback of Into the Bunker, where the shared shapeshifter there predicts that Dipper would die in a certain pose, and to some extent, that did happen in this episode. I am still shocked that both Dipper and Mabel did basically die. This isn't a case where, they're in danger, or they're frozen in time, or something of that sort. Without the participation of the ghost, everyone is just a piece of wood, dead in just about every way. It makes what Pacifica does even more powerful when she saves everyone. She not only broke the curse and let in the townsfolk, but she valued the lives of people like Dipper and Mabel above her status, basically breaking free of her parents' bad influence. I do love the fact that Pacifica does still fear her parents a little bit by the end of the episode. How she makes the mess and then feels the need to clean it up. It shows the hold that her parents have on her, that old habits die hard, all that stuff. Finally, when Dipper just takes time to enjoy himself at the end of the episode, it was such a nice moment. Throughout the show, Dipper has always had a hard time just living in the moment and sitting back to enjoy parties. It shows how much his character has grown, and may even hint of him starting to have feelings for Pacifica, and again, adds to that bittersweetness I mentioned earlier. But it was just such a wholesome scene in a very dark episode, and also ironic when we learn what McGucket really wanted to talk about. In summary, Northwest Mansion Mystery is Gravity Falls at its best. It has a very stylized look, great story structure, and does a lot to develop the characters, and adds a lot of history to the town of Gravity Falls. It is just great in almost every way. If you enjoyed the video, I'm sure you'll enjoy my exploration of Bill Cipher just as much. In that video, I explore what makes him such a terrifying villain, even though he's just a triangle. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Fictional Fanatics. I will see you in that Bill video. But until then, bye!